Why, hello there. Green Films Official here. So, today I went to the movies and watched the latest James Bond film, No Time to Die. It's crazy that this film is actually out now. It got delayed so many times thanks to this flippin'. But hey, it's out now, so let's talk about it. I am a huge fan of the Daniel Craig era of James Bond films. Casino Royale is a legitimately great movie that made Bond serious again after some previous entries started to veer the series into a more goofy tone. Daniel Craig was great as Bond, its story was interesting and fluent, and Le Chiffre is honestly one of the greatest Bond villains in history. Ava Green was great as Vesper Lind, who's one of the best Bond girls ever, if you ask me, and the action in this film is also incredible. Some of the greatest action scenes in the series are in this movie. It also has my personal favorite Bond opening song ever, You Know My Name by Chris Cornell, rest in peace. Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that this is one of my favorite films in the franchise. It was also made in 2006, the same year that I was born. That doesn't have anything to do with the quality of the film or anything. I just think that's kind of cool. Then there's Quantum of Solace, which I don't like quite as much. It's not a bad film or anything, it's just got a few flaws that hold it back from greatness. There's like this weird subplot about Bond wanting vengeance for Vesper's death in the previous movie that doesn't really go anywhere. The villain's plan is kind of weird, and it's revealed a little too late, and I really don't like the action that much in this one. There's like two fight scenes that are really good, and then the rest of it is shaky cam, quick cut bullcrap. The Bond girl in this is also incredibly forgettable. I don't even remember her name, and I have no interest in googling it. But despite those flaws, I still enjoyed this movie. The plot is somewhat interesting, even if it is a bit confusing and weird at points. The two action scenes that are good are pretty damn good. And that scene at the end where Bond leaves the main villain out in the middle of a desert with nothing but oil to drink is one of the most raw and badass things I've seen in the Daniel Craig era of Bond films. Then there's Skyfall, which is probably one of my favorite action movies ever made. The story is exciting. The main villain, Raul Silva, is menacing as all hell, and yet you understand why he's angry at M. Also, speaking of M, I like how she's more involved with the story of this one. The action is incredible. It's also a gorgeous movie. The locations are fantastic. This movie also introduces this continuity's version of Q, which is an automatic plus for me. This movie's just really great, dude. It's easily the best Daniel Craig Bond film for me, and I highly recommend checking it out at some point. It's really worth seeing. Spectre's not bad either. A lot of people like to say that this film is absolutely awful, but I disagree. Sure, I'll admit that Blofeld being behind the events of the previous three movies is dumb, doesn't make any sense, and that side plot with Q and C is kind of boring. But if you can look past those two things, I think that this film actually has quite a lot going for it. The opening action scene, as ridiculous as it is actually pretty exciting. I like that scene where Bond goes to visit Mr. White. I thought it was a nice, satisfying end to his character, and I thought it was kind of interesting that he was the father of Madeline Swan. I also like some of the humor in this movie.
Listen, who are you working for?
I also don't hate the action in this movie. It's not quite as good as the action in Spectre, but it's definitely better than Quantum of Solace's action. And then that leads us into this movie. So, how is it? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it the best Daniel Craig Bond film? Or is it the worst Daniel Craig Bond film? Let's get into the review and find out. This was a legitimately great time at the cinemas. There's a lot to like about this movie. The story is interesting, and the shots as well are beautiful. This is a great looking movie. A lot of the major supporting characters of the previous movies come back in this film, the ones that haven't died anyway, and it was cool to see them again. Especially Q, even though he didn't really do all that much. Madeline Swan was great in this movie. Like, she's okay in Spectre, but she's really good in this. Lea Seydoux killed it. Daniel Craig was great as Bond in this. You know, for someone who said he'd rather slit his wrists than ever play Bond again, he put his all into the role. Lucifer Staffin was incredibly menacing. It's not really the kind of role I'd expect Rami Malek to play, but he pulled it off, and he's really, really menacing. I also liked his bass, it looked awesome. Blofeld is also in this movie, which I don't think is a spoiler because he's in all the trailers. I thought his inclusion was great. I thought it was a nice final scene for his character, and he was super scary and menacing. And James visiting the prison he's at sort of gave me some Silence of the Lambs vibes. I mean, say what you want about this continuity's version of Blofeld, but I thought this scene was pretty good. There's a new character in this movie called Nomi, played by Lashana Lynch, and who replaces Bond as 007, and I guess she was alright, she wasn't bad. She was kind of obnoxious when in her first scene, but she became better as the film went on. The action is pretty good in this movie. It's not on the same level as Skyfall's action for me, but I think that'd be a pretty tough feat for this movie to pull off, considering I think Skyfall's action is absolutely breathtaking. So yeah, what's there is absolutely incredible, and there are some pretty cool gadgets thrown in the mix. As I said earlier in this review, I really like the story of this movie. I think it's really interesting and fun, and there are a lot of great twists and turns along the way. There's a real sense of finality to this movie, which makes sense considering it's the final Daniel Craig Bond film. And yeah, this is a great way to end the Daniel Craig continuity of Bond films. It's a really good culmination of everything that came beforehand. I think that there's a possibility that there'll be more 007 films with Nomi as the main protagonist, and to be honest, I'm kind of hoping that doesn't happen. This film perfectly ends things for this series of Bond films, and there's nothing really that interesting about Nomi's character that makes me think, "Oh, I want her to have her own movie." Felix Leiter returns in this movie, and he's pretty good in it, but he doesn't really have that much to do, which I thought was weird. He's teased to have a major role in the trailer, but he's not really in it all that much. Like, he sets the plot in motion, and then he like is kicked out of the story 50 minutes in, and I just thought, huh, that's really all you're gonna do with Felix? Okay then. There's also a new character played by Ana de Armas called Paloma, who also gets the same treatment. She's really cool in the couple of scenes that she is in, but then she just leaves the movie, and it's like, wait, but like, you were so cool though, why are you just leaving the movie? And then finally, I don't want to spoil anything, but the ending of this movie was great. It was beautiful, tragic, and it just completely blew me away. I sort of saw it coming beforehand, but I was hoping it didn't happen. It wasn't gonna happen, but it did, and the feels, man. But anyways, those are my thoughts on No Time to Die. A pretty solid entry in the James Bond series, in my opinion. I'd say my ranking of these movies, of the Daniel Craig movies from worst to best, would be Quantum of Solace is last place, followed by Spectre, Casino Royale, this movie, and then Skyfall at number one. That movie is just mwah, French kiss. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, smash that like button. It really helps out the channel. And why not subscribe if you haven't already? We're one off 60 subscribers. It'd be cool if we could hit that number. Anyways, I've been Green Films Official. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.